The skycraft moved slowly through the quiet wind tunnels beneath the floating cities. Lights on the side of the craft flickered softly, showing the ancient paths once used by guardians long ago. Brian sat near the front window, watching the dark clouds drift by. Alira sat beside him, holding a small map made of woven crystal threads behind them. 3 others joined the mission. Iran, a quiet energy scholar, knew the tunnels well. Mara, a skilled pilot, guided the craft with steady hands, and Leon, strong guard, stood ready with a calm face and sharp eyes as they moved deeper into the lower skies. The wind grew heavier. The walls of the tunnel became covered in moss that glowed faint green. Strange symbols were carved into the stone, telling silent stories of times forgotten. Iran spoke in a quiet voice. "We are close now. The core stone is protected by the Vault of Balance. Few have seen it. Fewer have returned." Alira looked at Brian. "We must not let the mist reach the core. If it does, the floating cities will fall. All of Velmora will suffer." Brian touched the staff. Its light grew stronger the closer they got. It felt warmer, more alive. He could sense something. Ahead, something watching, but not in fear. It was as if the planet itself was awake. Suddenly, the craft shook. A shadow passed quickly along the wall outside. Mara held the controls tighter. "Something is moving near us. I can feel it in the wind." Leon moved to the side window and looked out. "Mist creature. Fast one. It is following us." The lights inside the craft flickered. The staff glowed brighter. Brian stood. "Keep flying. I will guide the energy." He held the staff high. A soft hum filled the air. The lights spread outward, pushing against the wall of mist that had begun to creep through a crack in the tunnel. The mist hissed and pulled back, as if afraid. The path cleared again. The craft moved forward. The air became warmer. They entered a wide-open chamber filled with floating stones, slow-turning gears, and large crystal roots growing from the ceiling. In the center of the chamber stood a large platform, glowing with a soft gold light. Upon it rested the core stone. It was not large, it was not bright, but it pulsed with deep power, like a slow and strong heart. The room was silent. Even the wind held its breath. Iran stepped forward. "This is the soul of Velmora. It keeps the cities in the sky. It holds the wind in balance." Brian walked slowly to the platform. As he did, the staff lifted itself slightly. Its light blended with the glow of the core stone. A deep tone filled the chamber, as if the planet had spoken in greeting. Alira watched closely. "This is why the staff chose you. You carry the peace between worlds." Suddenly, the walls of the chamber darkened. The mist returned, stronger now. It poured through hidden cracks in the stone. It twisted and formed into shapes, quiet and moving like smoke. Iran stepped back. "It has found us." Brian held the staff high. "We will not let you take this world." The mist formed a tall shape, like a giant of clouds. It had no face, but its presence was heavy. A deep voice filled the chamber, not with sound, but with feeling. It said, "Balance was broken. You were not meant to be here." Brian answered calmly, "I was invited. I became family. This world welcomed me. Now I protect it." The mist surged forward. The staff glowed like a small sun. A wave of light burst from it, covering the chamber and striking the mist. But the mist did not fade. It pulled back and circled above. Alira joined Brian. She held out her hand. "The staff is not just yours. It belongs to us all. Let us stand together." Brian took her hand. The staff pulsed again. A second wave of light, warmer and wider, filled the room. This time, the mist cried out and cracked like broken glass. The voice returned, weaker now. "The time will come again. Light fades, shadows wait." Then it vanished. The chamber grew bright. The core stone glowed stronger than before. The floating stones began to rise higher, and a soft hum filled the tunnels. Iran looked at the readings. "The balance is restored. The cities will remain safe." Mara smiled. "We did it. The planet lives." Brian looked at the staff. Its light slowly dimmed, now calm. The power inside it rested. They returned to the skycraft. The path back was clear. No more shadows followed them. The mist had left Dot as they flew upward. Toward the sky and the light of Velmora, Brian felt something new inside. He no longer felt like a guest or visitor. He felt like part of something greater. They reached the palace before sunrise. The people had gathered to welcome them. News of the court's protection had spread. King Elian stood at the gate, smiling with peace in his eyes. "You have saved more than our land. You saved our future." Brian stepped forward. "This world saved me first. I only gave back what I could." That night, a celebration filled the city. Music played in the sky gardens. Lanterns floated through the air. Alira stood beside Brian, holding his hand. "You are now more than a guest. You are a symbol of unity between our kind and yours." Brian smiled. "Then let us build a future together." And so, in the skies of Velmora, under stars and soft winds, a new chapter began. A guest became family. A visitor became protector. And peace returned to the floating world above the clouds. Ben was not the kind of person who liked crowds. He was a quiet human engineer who lived and worked on a large space station called Unity Arc, where humans and aliens worked side by side. His job was simple. He repaired old machines, fixed communication towers, and sometimes helped adjust air systems for alien species who breathed different gases. Ben liked machines. Machines didn't talk too much. They didn't judge his silence. They didn't expect him to smile. That's why, when he received a shining golden scroll with strange symbols, he almost threw it in the trash. But then he noticed a seal at the bottom, one that belonged to the Velari Empire, a powerful alien race known for their grace, order, and ancient traditions. He took the scroll to his alien friend Milo, who worked in customs. Milo's eyes widened when he saw it. "This is not just any invitation," he said. "You've been invited to the royal wedding of Princess Ilari herself." Ben blinked. "Why me? I've never met her." Milo shrugged. "Maybe it's a mistake, but the seal is real. You don't ignore a royal invitation from the Velari. Not unless you want trouble." Ben sighed. He didn't want trouble. So, he got a clean uniform, polished his boots, and boarded a transport ship that flew toward the Velari homeworld, Velaros Prime. Velaros Prime was like something out of a dream. Giant floating gardens moved slowly in the sky. Waterfalls poured from silver towers into rivers that glowed faintly in the dark. Alien birds flew in beautiful patterns. Everything seemed designed to look perfect and peaceful. Ben arrived at the royal dome, a giant circular building made of crystal and living plants. Velari guards checked his scroll, bowed politely, and gave him a long silk sash with moving lights. On it, they helped him put it over his shoulder and guided him inside. Ben didn't understand what the sash meant. He thought it was just something guests wore. He noticed that others had different colors. His was a rich silver blue, with small green waves at the edges. Inside, the wedding hall was filled with soft music and strange lights. Velari nobles floated slightly above the ground, their long robes glowing gently. Many wore small masks. Some didn't look at him at all. Others gave him small nods. Ben found a quiet spot near the edge and watched. He tried not to stand out, but he felt very out of place. Everyone else moved with grace. He felt like a clumsy shadow. On the high stage stood Princess Ilari. Her skin shimmered like pearl. Her long hair was braided with living vines that moved softly. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked tired. She wore a flowing gown that seemed made of light and wind. Standing beside her was a tall alien diplomat from another system, dressed in black and gold. The ceremony began. Soft chants filled the air. Light beams moved in patterns above them. A priest stepped forward and began the ancient Velari rituals. Ben couldn't understand the words, but he watched with interest. At one point, a servant walked through the crowd with a tray of bright fruit. One piece was handed to Ben. He looked around. Others had already taken bites, so he did the same. It tasted sweet, like a mix of honey and mint. Then another servant came with a small crystal cup. Ben was given one. He took a sip. The water sparkled in his mouth. Suddenly, someone touched his shoulder. A soft voice said, "Come this way." He turned and saw a tall Valari woman in silver armor. She guided him gently toward the front. Ben panicked but followed, not wanting to cause trouble. The priest looked surprised when Ben stepped forward, but the sash he wore glowed brighter now, and the priest nodded slowly, as if understanding something. Ben was brought next to Princess Ilari. She looked at him, then at the sash. Her eyes widened slightly, but she said nothing. The priest held up a hand. Speaking again in the ancient tongue, Ben was handed another piece of fruit. Ilari was too. They both took a bite. Then came the second crystal cup. Both drank. The sash glowed. Bright green. The priest clapped once. The crowd gave a soft cheer. Then silence. Ilari turned slowly to Ben and spoke in soft, common tongue. You just married me. Ben froze. What? This ritual. It's the bonding ceremony. Those who share fruit and water before the priest, while wearing the royal vow sash, are seen as bound by heart. Ben's mouth went dry. I thought I was just following the custom. You were. But the sash you wore was meant for my true groom. There must have been a mix-up. Ben looked around. People were watching. Some looked confused. Others looked shocked. Then he noticed the original groom. The alien diplomat had stepped back. His face was full of anger. He turned and left without a word. Pilari stood still. The vow is real now. It cannot be undone by words. Ben took a breath. Then, what happens now? Ilari looked at him, truly looked at him for the first time. Now we deal with the storm we've created. The music had stopped. The lights inside the royal hall dimmed slowly. Ben stood beside Princess Ilari, unsure of what to do. He could feel hundreds of eyes watching him. His palms were sweating. The fruit in his hand was half eaten, and the taste still sat on his tongue. He had no idea how one simple bite could lead to something this big. Ilari stood tall, her expression calm but unreadable. Inside, her thoughts were moving fast. She had been prepared to marry a man she didn't love. It was a deal made for peace between two empires. That was her duty. That was her life. But now, standing beside a human she had only spoken to once, her future had changed completely. Ben whispered, Is there any way to fix this? To say it was a mistake? Ilari glanced at the glowing sash still wrapped over his shoulder. This is the old law. The ritual is complete. The vow is accepted by the royal bond. It's not something you can undo with words. A group of Valari elders stood from their seats. They looked at the queen, waiting for her response. The queen, tall and graceful with silver markings across her forehead, did not speak right away. Her face was thoughtful, but firm. Ilari turned to her mother and bowed. Forgive me, mother. It was not planned, but the ritual was followed fully. The queen studied Ben. You are human, she said in a slow voice, and yet the vow glows. That means the bond was accepted by the veil of truth. This is not something we can ignore. Ben took a step forward. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I didn't even know what was happening. The queen nodded, and that may be true, but the stars do not care for intentions. The bond has been made. The crowd began to murmur. Some were shocked, some were angry, others were simply curious. Suddenly, the sound of boots echoed through the hall. A tall alien in black and gold stepped forward. It was Lord Farron, the original groom. His voice was sharp. This is a trick, he said, a setup. The human does not belong here. Ben raised his hands. I don't even know what I belong to right now. Farron pointed at Ilari. You will come with me. You are still promised to my people. Ilari stepped back. The vow has been made. I will not break it. Farron's face turned dark. He stormed out without another word. The queen stood. The ceremony is over. All guests will return to their chambers. We will speak again in the morning. The guards moved quickly, guiding the crowd out. The music never resumed. Later that night, Ben sat in a quiet room with smooth walls and soft lighting. A plate of food sat untouched beside him. He stared at the glowing sash. Still not sure what to do. The door opened softly, and Ilari walked in. She had changed into a simpler dress, still royal, but less formal. Her hair was now tied back. She looked tired, but calm. I wanted to check on you, she said. Ben stood up. I'm still trying to understand what just happened. She nodded. You became my husband by law. I was just trying to follow instructions. I thought it was part of the guest ritual. Alari sat down across from him. The sash you wore was meant for Lord Farron. He was late arriving, and your name was close to his in the guest list. When you accepted the sash, the system recorded you as the bond partner. Ben rubbed his face. And no one noticed? Not until it was too late, Alari said. The sash bonded with your energy. When the fruit and water were shared, the vow completed itself. He sighed. So, what now? Do we tell everyone it was a mistake and go our own way? Alari looked at him seriously. That's not how it works here. The bond was public. The law sees us as partners now. Breaking it would bring dishonor to the crown. Worse, it would damage the agreement with Farron's people. Ben leaned back in the chair. I didn't ask for this. I'm just a station engineer. You're also kind, Alari said. You didn't try to take advantage of the moment. You didn't shout or run. You stayed calm. That matters. Ben looked at her. What about you? You were about to marry. A man you didn't want. I was, she said softly. But I had no choice. That's how royal life works. Ben was quiet for a while. Then he said, I still think they'll find a way to fix this. Alari stood. Maybe. But until then, we are bound, so we must act like it. Ben raised an eyebrow. What does that mean? It means we'll need to appear as husband and wife, at least for now. The people will want to see us together. They will watch how we act. If we show weakness, they will question the vow. Ben took a deep breath. All right, I'll do my best. But I'm not good at talking in front of people. Alari gave a small smile. I'll handle the talking. You just stay honest. Ben smiled back. That I can do. She turned to leave, then paused. There's one more thing. Tomorrow, we will visit the Star Garden together. It is tradition for newly bonded couples. The nobles will expect it. Ben nodded slowly. Then I guess I'll see you in the garden. As the door closed behind her, Ben sat alone in the quiet again. Everything had changed in just one day. He had come to watch a royal wedding. Now, somehow, he was part of one. And the strangest part was he didn't feel afraid anymore. The morning sun of Velaro's prime rose gently over the silver towers of the palace. The sky shimmered in soft shades of blue and green. Birds with glowing wings sang songs that echoed across the royal gardens. It was a peaceful world. At least, on the surface. Ben stood near a tall window, looking out at the alien landscape. He had slept for only a few hours. His thoughts had kept him awake. Everything still felt like a dream. A day ago, he had been fixing broken pipes on Unity Arc. Now, he was in the royal palace. Married by accident to a princess, he adjusted the sash on his shoulder. It still glowed gently. No matter what he tried, the light wouldn't fade. The sash had bonded with him completely. It was part of him now, a symbol of a vow he hadn't meant to make. A soft knock came at the door. It opened slowly, and Alari stepped inside. She wore a royal travel robe, deep blue with silver edges. Her long hair was tied with simple bands, and her face looked calm but focused. Are you ready? She asked. Ben nodded. As ready as I'll ever be. They walked side by side down the long marble hallway. The walls were covered with living vines and moving murals that told stories from Valari history. Every servant they passed bowed deeply. Some looked curious, some looked confused. No one said anything. The Star Garden was a sacred place. It sat high above the palace, at the edge of the sky bridge. From there, one could see all of Velaro's prime. It was tradition for newly bonded couples to walk through the garden together, hand in hand. As a symbol of unity, Ben and Alari stepped into the garden slowly. Floating lights danced around them like fireflies. The ground was soft and warm, covered in grass that changed color with each step. Flowers sang in quiet hums, and trees bent slightly as they walked by. Dozens of nobles stood at the edges, watching. Among them were the queen, the council, and a few off-world diplomats. Eyes followed every step. The pressure in the air was heavy. Ben whispered, "This is the part where we pretend, right?" Alari gave a soft smile. Yes, just walk with me. She gently took his hand. It surprised him, but he didn't pull away. Her hand was warm, steady. Together they walked along the garden path, stopping at a large fountain made of crystal. A priest stepped forward and spoke in the ancient Velari language. Ben didn't understand the words, but Alari gave him a small nod. He repeated the phrase after her, one line at a time. The final part of the ritual came next. The priest held up two small orbs, one green, one silver. Alari took the green orb, Ben took the silver. They pressed them together, and the orbs fused into one. A small burst of light surrounded them, and the crowd gave a soft cheer. The priest bowed. The garden accepts the bond. Alari turned to the crowd. Her voice was calm and clear. This union was not planned, but it is real. The vow was made before the veil of truth. My heart did not expect it, but I accept the will of the stars. The queen gave a slight nod, but her face stayed unreadable. Suddenly, a loud voice broke the peace. This bond is a trick. It breaks every agreement made with our people. Lord Farron had returned. His ship had docked without warning. He marched into the garden with 2 guards at his side. His robe was darker now, showing signs of stress and travel. You will come with me, Princess, he said. The bond must be broken. This human does not belong in the royal bloodline. Alari stepped forward. The bond is real. The garden accepted it. The vow cannot be broken by anger. Farron's face twisted. Then I will take the human away. Without him, the bond cannot survive. Ben narrowed his eyes. I didn't ask for this, but I'm not leaving like a coward. Farron raised his hand, and the guard stepped forward. Suddenly, a flash of light shot between them. A tall figure appeared from the shadows. It was Torn, Alari's personal guard. He moved fast, his weapon raised. This is royal ground, Torn said firmly. Any threat to the princess or her partner will be answered. The queen finally spoke. Enough. Lord Farron, you bring shame by storming sacred ground. Leave now or face exile. Farron clenched his jaw but said nothing. He turned and left, his guards following close behind. The crowd began to whisper. The tension slowly faded, but the moment had changed something. Alari looked at Ben. Are you all right? He nodded. I'm used to handling wires and engines, not angry suitors. She smiled. Just for a second. You did well. Later that evening, Ben sat in a quiet room near the garden. He looked up at the stars above the glass roof. The planet was peaceful again, but his mind was still racing. Alari entered the room quietly. She sat beside him. He spoke first. I still don't understand how a fruit and some water caused all this. It's not just the items. She explained. It's the meaning. In our culture, when 2 souls share those things in front of the priest while wearing the vow sash, it becomes a binding promise. Ben nodded slowly. You were supposed to marry someone else, and now you're stuck with me. I don't feel stuck, Alari said. You're different from everyone I've known. You're honest. You speak less, but your words matter. Ben looked at her. I didn't want to change your life. She looked at the stars. Maybe it needed to change. They sat in silence for a long time. The bond, though formed by accident, was beginning to feel real. The palace lights dimmed as night returned to Velaro's prime. Inside the high tower, Ben sat quietly at the edge of a wide balcony. The wind carried soft music from the city below. He looked down at the glowing sash still tied across his shoulder. It now felt heavier than before. The garden ceremony was done. The vow was sealed. But things had changed quickly. Lord Farron's return had made the situation worse. Ben could feel the pressure in every step he took. The nobles whispered when he passed. The servants looked nervous around him. He didn't belong in this world, and they all knew it. Alari joined him on the balcony. She walked softly, wearing a cloak over her royal robe. Her face looked calm, but her eyes showed quiet worry. They will not let this rest, she said. I figured, Ben replied. I saw how Farron looked at me. He's not going to walk away from this. Alari leaned on the stone rail beside him. Farron's people are powerful. If they think the bomb was a trick, they may call it a betrayal. That means war. Ben turned to her. But it was an accident. Intent does not matter in politics, she said. Only results. Just then, a soft beep came from the wall behind them. A small panel opened, revealing a thin figure dressed in dark armor. It was Torn, Alari's trusted guard. His voice was low and serious. There's no time, Torn said. You need to leave the palace. Both of you. Alari straightened. What's happened? The royal council is split. Some believe the bond should be broken quietly. Others want to protect it. But Farron's allies are moving fast. A message was intercepted. He plans to take Ben by force and remove him from Villari territory. Ben stood up. He wants to kidnap me. Torn nodded. Before the next sunrise. Alari's voice turned sharp. What about my mother? She is queen. Even she may not stop this now. Torn said. The pressure is growing from outside forces. If Ben disappears quietly, they think the bond will fade. Ben looked at Alari. Then we run. She met his eyes. Together. Torn led them through hidden passages behind the tower. The walls were old, carved with ancient marks. These tunnels were known only to a few within the palace. They moved quickly, avoiding guards and watchers. Alari kept her cloak over her head. Ben stayed close, heart pounding after several turns. They reached a dark platform where a small ship waited. It was narrow, built for speed, painted in dark colors to blend into the night inside. They met a young Villari with a kind face and clever eyes. She stood beside the controls. This is Minna, Torn said, a scholar and a pilot. She offered to help. Minna gave a small bow. I've studied ancient bonds and star paths. I believe this bond may change more than just politics. That's why I'm with you. Ben looked at Alari. Seems like you have more friends than I thought. Alari smiled. Only a few, but the right ones. The ship lifted off quietly, flying low under the palace radar. Below them, the city lights shone bright. The towers looked peaceful. But Ben knew danger was only steps behind them. Minna turned the ship toward the edge of the planet's orbit. We'll head for the shadows of Tavari. Belt, she said. Old mining stations are hidden there. They won't find you easily. Ben looked out the window. What happens when they do? Alari answered. Then we stop running, and we speak for ourselves. Hours passed. They crossed star lanes and drifted between cargo routes. The Tavari belt appeared in the distant dark clouds of rock and metal, filled with ancient stations and broken ships. It was once a place of wealth. Now it was mostly forgotten. Minna docked the ship near a quiet station. The place had no lights and no signs of life, but power still ran through the lower levels. Inside the station, dust floated in the air. Lights flickered. Old machines buzzed. It felt like a ghost city. But it was safe, at least for now. Ben worked quickly, helping Torn seal the door and check the shields. Alari walked through the empty halls, remembering stories from her childhood about how the station once powered great cities. Later, the group gathered around an old table in the control room. A soft hum filled the space as emergency power held the system steady. Minna opened a screen. We've picked up movement. A fleet is heading this way, small, but fast. Ben leaned forward. Farron, Minna nodded. Most likely, we don't have long. Alari stood. Then we use the time we have. We plan. Torn spoke next. We can't fight them with weapons. But if we make this bond public across the Alliance network, and if enough people support it, they can't erase it. Ben raised an eyebrow. You want to send a message across the galaxy? Alari nodded. Yes, a message of truth. Show them the ritual, the garden, the vow. If we're honest and brave, others may stand with us. Ben looked at her. She didn't look like a trapped royal anymore. She looked like a leader. He gave a small nod. Let's do it. The old mining station floated quietly inside the Tavari belt, hidden by clouds of rock and space debris. It had no name, only a number, Station 6 to 3N, long ago. Workers had mined crystals here, but now it was silent and forgotten until Ben, Alari, Torn, and Minna brought it to life again. Inside the dusty control room, the group waited. Screens flickered. A faint hum filled the air. They had sent the truth across the stars. Now they waited to see who would answer. Ben stood near a panel, fixing an old transmitter with tools he had taken from the ship. His fingers moved fast. Steady as always, he didn't say much, but he was thinking deeply. Ilari stood near a window, looking at the distant stars. She looked calm, but Ben could see the tension in her hands. Torn checked the security systems again and again. Minna sat near a screen, watching incoming signals. Suddenly, the screen blinked. "We've got responses," Minna said. "Some from small colonies, a few from trade ships," and she paused. "A message from a Velari Council member. Secret." Line Ilari walked over quickly. "Play it." A soft voice came from the speaker. It was a female voice, sharp and clear. "Princess Ilari, I speak not as a council leader, but as your cousin. Your message has reached many. Some support you. Others fear what this bond means. Farron has told his side of the story to his people. He says the bond was false. He is calling for action. He plans to take the station by force." The message. Silence followed. Ben turned to Ilari. "So now they know where we are." "Yes," she said. "And now we must hold our ground. An hour later, warning lights flashed across the station. Torn ran to the window. Ships entering the belt. He said, 6 of them, Farron's crest on the lead vessel." Ben walked over. "Do they know our exact location?" "Not yet," Minna said. "But they're scanning." Ilari took a deep breath. "We don't run this time. We stand." Ben looked at the old control panel. "The station's communication systems are weak, but I can boost a broadcast for a short time. Long enough for one clear message." Ilari nodded. "We speak directly to everyone watching, not just the Velari. All of them." Together, they stood in front of the camera. The room behind them was dim and worn, but the light on their faces was clear. Ben stood beside Ilari. He wore a simple shirt, his sash still glowing softly. Ilari stood tall in her travel robe. No crown, no jewels, only truth in her eyes. Ilari spoke first. "This is Princess Ilari of the Velari Empire. Many of you know the story already. A wedding, a mistake, a bond. But what you may not know is this: what began as accident has become truth. I choose this vow not by pressure, but by heart." She looked to Ben. Ben stepped forward. "I'm not a warrior or ruler. I'm an engineer. I fix things. But when I met Ilari, I didn't just fix a broken line in a palace system. I stepped into something bigger than me. I didn't ask for it, but I won't run from it either." Ilari added, "If we are punished for choosing peace over power, then what does our galaxy stand for?" The screen blinked as the message was sent again and again across every known channel. Minutes later, the enemy ships moved closer. "Incoming hail," Minna said, "from Farron's ship." Ilari stood straight, put him on screen. Farron appeared. His face was cold, his voice sharp. "You have one chance. Leave the station. And this lie. Return to Velari, or we come in." Ilari answered, "We are not hiding, and it is no lie. If you attack now, you will show the galaxy who you truly are." Farron didn't reply. The screen turned black. Outside the window, the ships began to spread out. "They're preparing to strike," Torn said. Ben moved fast. "We have weak shields, but the station has power lines I can overload. I can make a pulse strong enough to blind their sensors for a short time. Will that stop them?" Ilari asked. "No," Ben said, "but it will buy us time." He ran to the back room. Tools in hand, he worked fast, linking old systems together. Sparks flew. Lights flickered. Torrent and Minna prepared the station's last defense grid. Ilari stayed at the window, watching the stars. Her heart was calm now, not because she was safe, but because she had chosen her path. Then it happened. A loud hum filled the station. The overload pulse fired. A burst of white light flashed across the sky. The enemy ships twisted, blinded for a moment. Ben's voice came over the comm. "Now, send the signal." Minna hit the button. A beacon lit up in the sky above the station. It was an ancient call for peace, one used in the old times before war spread across systems. All nearby ships would see it, and many did. Within minutes, new signals arrived. One by one, small ships joined the outer orbit, trade vessels, civilian cruisers, even a few Valari scouts. They didn't fire. They only watched. Farron's fleet now stood in front of a galaxy that was watching every move. Torrance smiled. He can't strike now. Not with so many eyes on him. Farron's ship turned, slowly. The fleet pulled back. No words, no message, just silence. Then they were gone. Inside the control room, the group sat down, tired but smiling. Ben looked at Ilari. We didn't win by force. Ilari smiled. No, we won by standing still. Minna added, the stars watched, and they chose truth. Ben nodded slowly. Now what? Ilari looked out at the sky. Now we build something new. For the first time in days, the station was quiet. The stars outside the windows seemed calmer, as if the whole galaxy had taken a deep breath. Farron's ships had left. The attack had been stopped without war, but peace was still not certain. What happened next would decide everything. Inside the old station, Ben sat near a console, checking power levels. Most of the systems were old, but he had fixed the important parts. The shields were holding, the lights were stable, and the communication lines were open. He had done his part, but now it was up to Ilari. She stood in the control room, speaking to her mother, the Queen, on a secure channel. The screen was filled with her mother's image. The Queen looked strong, but there was sadness in her eyes. You stopped a battle, the Queen said, but you have also shaken many old alliances. Some members of the royal court still want the bond broken. I understand, Ilari replied, but I will not break the vow. I accepted it fully. You still have a choice, her mother said. If you return now and stand before the high table, they may forgive the mistake. They may let you walk free. Ilari looked calm. They will not see it as a mistake. They will see it as weakness. If I leave Ben, I lose more than love. I lose myself. The Queen was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, do you truly love him? Ilari answered without hesitation, yes. Ben didn't hear the full conversation, but when Ilari turned away from the screen, he saw the look in her eyes. It was clear. She had made her choice. She walked over to him. They gave me a final offer. I could go back alone. They would protect my name, even let me return to the palace. Ben stood. And I said no, she said. I choose to stay. Ben looked at her carefully. Even after all this? Even if things never go back to how they were? Ilari smiled. That's why I'm staying. I don't want things to go back. I want to go forward. Ben didn't say anything at first. Then he nodded. Then I stay too. They both stood quietly for a moment. In that silence, a bond stronger than the vow was formed. News of Ilari's decision spread quickly. The message was clear. She had chosen the bond. Not for politics, not for safety, but for truth. Reactions were mixed. Some called it brave. Others called it foolish. Many were confused. But more and more people, Valari and non-Valari alike, began to admire what had happened. Ships began arriving at the station, small ones at first, traders, travelers, even curious citizens. Then a science crew from Unity Arc, a few members of the Valari High Council. All wanted to speak to the princess, and the human. Minna helped organize the visits. Torrance stayed close to Ilari at all times, watching carefully. Ben mostly stayed near the ship's systems in the control room, helping visitors, fixing what he could. One day, a small group of Valari citizens stepped forward and bowed to Ilari. We have followed the old ways all our lives, one of them said, but seeing you speak with your own heart, we feel something new, something better. Maybe it is time to change. Ilari listened to them with deep care. She answered with kindness, never with pride. She knew this change was not only hers, it belonged to all of them. Inside the station, a large hall was slowly transformed. Ben and a few engineers cleaned out old machines and made space for meetings. Ilari used the room to talk to leaders from other worlds, not as a princess, but as a partner. She didn't wear her crown anymore. She wore a simple robe. and her sash the one that glowed with the bond still shined softly at her side. One evening, as the stars shifted overhead, Ben walked with her through one of the upper halls. The old station lights glowed faintly around them. "Do you miss it?" he asked. "Miss what?" "The palace, your home, the comfort of being royal." Alari looked ahead. "I miss the gardens. I miss the soft music that played during the evening meals. But not the rules, not the pressure." Ben nodded. "I guess I never had much to miss. Earth was noisy, Unity Arc was cold, but it was mine." She looked at him. "And what do you have now?" He smiled a little. "You, and that's enough." They kept walking in silence, steps light against the metal floor. The stars outside seemed closer now. A few days later, the Queen sent another message. This time, she appeared not as a ruler, but as a mother. "I cannot deny the will of the stars," she said. "You have chosen, and I will respect that choice. The bond will remain, and so will your title." Alari bowed her head. "Thank you, Mother." But the Queen added, "You must build your own path now. You are no longer just my daughter. You are part of something new, something greater than tradition." Alari understood. Ben understood too. They were not just married by accident. They were leaders of a new idea. That love could rise beyond duty. That peace could begin from one small, unexpected moment. That night, as the station lights dimmed, Ben and Alari stood on the balcony again. The stars were quiet, but the air was full of hope. He looked at her. "So what's next?" She smiled. "We help others who feel trapped by rules. We build places where truth matters more than titles. And maybe we grow a real garden here, too." Ben chuckled. "A garden in an old mining station. That's something I'd like to see." Alari took his hand. "We'll make it together."